Hello everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Shonen Source. For today we're going with the March 8th issue of Weekly Shonen Jump. Now this week I read One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen Machilo, Gone on Egg, Under Doctor, and Alien Headbutt. So with One Piece we have chapter 1176, and it starts off with us going back to the perspective of the main crew, so we're predominantly focusing on Loki, Zoro, and Luffy to this point. And with this, we see as Lilith is working on these little gadgets that are like heat condenser things. And we see as the library is still on fire on Elbaf, and Saul, Robin, and all of them are trying to figure out how to put out the fire. So Nami proposes using Zeus. So she uses Zeus. Zeus comes out, and he starts throwing on the fire. But a lindworm, which was summoned by Killingham's devil fruit power, ends up coming in and eating Zeus. And so we see Killingham pull over there, and luckily with Lilith's tool, she's able to throw these, and they end up consuming all the fire that was around the library, and it ends up freezing over so it doesn't burn. And then we see as Jinbei, Frankie, and Tanji prepare to face up against Killingham. Now, Frankie just got an upgrade because Lilith was talking to him briefly, and she's like, I have no idea how you've been running so well at the level of a pacifista or above with just normal cola. She's like, we have this super Vega cola that should be even better for you. And so he uses it, drinks it as fuel, and he goes crazy. So then we see Killingham get absolutely pieced up by a YC plus with Sanji, a YC2 with Jinbei, and a YC3 with Frankie. And they just obliterate it. They obliterate the Lindworm. They obliterate Killingham. Killingham ends up looking like St. Charlotte with his head smashed down and all that. But yeah, this was all deserved though because he was putting some slander on Jinbei because he's a fish man. That's all Celestial Dragons do. But yeah, he got absolutely pieced up. So anyone who's still on the Holy Knight agenda, it's time to hop off, buddy. If it wasn't time to hop off like 50 chapters ago, because yeah, they are not doing good. But then after that, we move on and we see Dory and Brogy are still in their Domi Reversi form. However, they get a brief break of consciousness and they're like, we're not going to do this. We're not going to fight the Chief Ja Rule, who we love and endear. And so they turn to each other and they decapitate each other, like straight up cut their heads off. And this leads to them laying on the ground. But then eventually we see their heads move in the next panel and they end up reattaching. But once they reattach, they're no longer Domi Reversi. So with this, the Giants have regained Dory and Brogy for their forces, and we have now learned how to break Domi Reversi, which is to deal a lethal blow of some sort to an individual. So once that lethal blow is done, they'll reconstruct and then no longer be Domi Reversi. So that's kind of a very easy way to restore Domi Reversi, and it kind of makes me question if Rox could be alive, because I don't believe he is, because he got hit with absolute bombs by Garp and Roger, literally the most powerful attacks we've almost probably ever seen in the entire series. So I doubt he's still alive, but there's a possibility. But he got disintegrated, so I wouldn't presume. They just got decapitated. But yeah, so we move along, and then we have Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo. Now this is the final chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, the big finale, and we see as Marulu and Cross end up putting off trial, and how the Samurians and Romulians, they're like, okay, we will live with the Kalians, even though they may end up eating our children later on, they will assimilate with them still. And we see then as Yuji ends up pulling to Nobara's house, and they begin to discuss how they will go about just dealing with the events that should cause cursed spirits to disappear and all that. So they talk about how Yuji will probably get turned into a cursed object once he dies 300 years down the line, and how they need to create an abundance of cursed tools then, so even once cursed energy is gone, they'll still be able to handle the cursed spirits that occasionally will arise. And they discuss how they are going to look for all of the people who are born with heavenly pacts or distinctions, whatever they are, restrictions. And so, yeah, and we see the only reason he brought Panda along is because he didn't want to go alone. But then we also see as Yuka and Yuta kind of meet up again. They're kind of disappointed, and their mom is kind of sad how she didn't tell them about her illness, but it's okay because she's very proud of them. And then at the end of the chapter, we end up seeing that this woman who was left behind by Dabura had a lover in Dabura. So that's kind of odd, but that's kind of that's where the chapter ends. That's where the series ends. But yeah, then in Gone on Egg, we see as the two main generals are actually killed, because we saw the previous one get decapitated last chapter. Then we see the other one get killed, and he's able though to rip off Reigoku's veil, and it reveals that Reigoku is a woman, and a very powerful woman at that, because eventually we see as more fighting's going down, but then she senses Gonron, and then once she gets to Gonron, she smells what she knows is Oma, because she knows the smell of the previous king and therefore the prince. And so she plunders Oma, and Gonron is left without Oma. So that really concerns me, because I know that Gonron has now consumed Drakkar hearts, so he naturally has power. However, he's still not going to be able to transform because he doesn't have Oma. So I'm really ready to see how this goes about, because I don't know if Oma's going to get killed or if Oma's going to come into his own and all that, because it has been 3 years, so I mean it would be reasonable for him to have hatched, but I don't know. Then we go into Under Doctor, and this one really deals with Shilu trying to deal with Haji, because Shilu has grown to respect Haji deeply, and he wants him to teach him how to be a doctor, but Haji's like, I don't really want a student. And so Shilu just gets to thinking back on it. He gets to thinking back on his grandpa. He thinks, what can he do, or how can he become a doctor? And he's thinking about this, and Haji and them go off for a job, and then once they come back, he's had a full meal cooked for him. He's like, you know what, I will be a good cook, and I will stay here, I'll cook for you, and I'll do anything you need me to, as long as you let me study medicine under you. And so Haji's like, all right, sure. And he mentions how good eating is the first and most basic type of good health, so that's why he agrees to let him stay there and cook. So that's all I really had for Under Doctor. And then we move on to Alien Headbutt. Alien Headbutt was really just dealing with the final portions of the battle with the bigger alien, and we see as more people are released, and eventually we see as Uga and Tatsumi discuss a little bit, and they eventually learn, Uga expresses his desire to go and see like his family and stuff like that, and then eventually they put on some binoculars and they see that actually Uga's older sister, who had worked at a place in town, is actually imprisoned in one of the alien eggs. So I presume they'll be going to save her next chapter. But yeah, that's all for Shonen Shorts episode 6. So thank you very much for watching.